Hello, everyone. Is everyone there? Is everyone watching? Be quiet, phone. Welcome back to episode 2 of Galley Gab Fest, where the Library Love Fest team at HarperCollins will be gabbing about galleys. I'm Virginia Stanley, and I'm joined by my fabulous colleagues. Hello, colleagues.
Mm.
Hello.
Hi, Lainey
Lainey,
Grace. Yes.
Grace, Virginia.
Hi.
Hi. We're surrounded by books. It's like, oh my God, there's so many books, and not one of them is real. Not one. I could turn on my light. I could fall out of my chair. I could have a little drink. I don't know what's happening there. Anyway, hi everyone. Welcome back. So, as we said last month, we were going to sort of revamp things and do Gala Gab Fest once a month. And so here we are, talking about books that are near and dear to our hearts. And there we are. So glad I'm not wearing the same shirt from when we took that picture. But from 2 to 3 today, ET, we'll talk about some books. So we have a lot of stuff to cover. So we will get right to it. Ask questions, it's us. We're easy. So let's, shall we start with our first slide? Or Lainey or Grace, do you want to say anything before we jump in?
Porcupine. Oh, just like a regular word or?
Yes, Lainey, like a regular bird.
Hi, it's good to be here. I'm excited to tell you about some books. I was getting excited, getting ready to tell you about these ones.
Yeah, I thought I had pre-show jitters, just exciting jitters. Happy to be here.
I think it's always good to have. I still get pre-show jitters. I mean, why not? I think it's a good sign. Really, seriously, because it's fun, but it's also a big responsibility to do right by our authors and to do right by people who've taken the time to listen in. So, the first thing we want to tell you about is our second episode of Writers to Watch, which we launched. What day did we launch that? Sometime in January. And we had a wonderful, wonderful show. This takes place at night from 7 to 8. We found that this was a kind of a good time to speak with authors. So we had 4 terrific authors, and there's a link in the, where's the link, you guys, for the?
It's coming right now.
Okay.
Be in both chats, podcast and Facebook.
Okay. And so we had Gail Tsukiyama, Jasmine Hakes, Tao Tai, and Nicole Chung. And for an hour, we had the privilege of hearing them talk about books and then taking questions from folks who were chiming in and sending in their questions. It was really, really cool. It was a great conversation and just enlightening because they talked, each author talked for about 5 minutes about their book. And then we brought them all on, and then it was just this really cool conversation, which was ignited by the questions sent in by librarians. So please join us on February 23rd, when we will have these 4 authors on to do the same thing, talk a little bit about their books, and then answer your questions. So
Yeah.
do we want to give them everybody just a little quick description of each one of these books?
Yeah, I can start, and I'm going to keep this incredibly short because it's also going to be buzzed about next week. So I dug into this one this weekend, which is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, and I have a lot of reading to do, and I just keep coming back to this one in my brain because it's so good. And this is about a white author who steals the work of her deceased friend and claims to be Asian American, and that's all I'm going to say for now.
Nice. Super excited. Jacqueline Winspear, so many of you have read her Maisie Dobbs books, which are huge bestsellers. This is a standalone, and it is set in post-World War II Britain, and it's about a small-town woman who clearly is hiding her mysterious past. What I will tell you is that it has received starred reviews from Booklist, Kirkus, and LJ. Cannot wait to hear her talk about this woman, Eleanor White.
Then we have The Gulf by Rachel Cochran. So this one, the cover is gorgeous and immediately made me think of Valentine, which I think you will too after you hear what it's about. It's a debut literary thriller set on the Gulf of Texas in the 70s, the height of the women's liberation movement. A closeted young woman attempts to solve her surrogate mother's murder in a really religious small town. And then we have Falling Hard for the Royal Guard, which again, jacket love, so cute with a little corgi at the bottom. So this is by Megan Clausen, and this is another debut. It's a rom-com, and it's about a woman who lives in the Tower of London, really written off love, and she comes at a chance encounter with one of the Queen's guards, and so maybe love ensues. And actually, what's really cool about this one is Megan lives in the Tower of London. Her dad is a beefeater, and so she knows what she's talking about. She actually lives there, not just, like, it's not just a museum, people live there. And she has these really cool videos showing how she lives there. And so I thought maybe to make you a little teaser, also check out the press kit on Edelweiss, it's very cool. But there's a little teaser for the book. Let me pull that video up that I have for you. Okay. It's very cute. Let's see.
Things in my Tower of London home that just make sense. Arrow slits for windows, just in case the tourists on Tower Bridge get just that little bit too rowdy on an evening. My One Direction towel that I use as a curtain over my bed, because the east wall is consistently packed with people trying to take photos of me while I'm sleeping. The millions of flights of stairs we have, as if the tower itself is trying to make your life, when you're pissed, as difficult as possible. Look at my cool paintings. And this guy, who I'm pretty sure is just there to freak me out every single night.
Yeah, so she actually lives there, and I think her kind of jokey way tells you a lot about how the book will be, and she's super fun, so I can't wait to hear more. I'm going to ask her a million questions about her life in general.
I loved the One Direction. Was it a towel, a blanket? I mean, some would argue they are British royalty, so I think it is quite fitting.
I'm going to put that video in the comments. You can watch it later and go check out. She has many other ones. She's really TikTok famous and shares her life. It's very cool.
I love that. That's wild. We should all do that. We should make little videos of like what's outside our window with that music.
Yeah.
Would anyone care? I don't know. Grace, what's happening here?
What's happening here? Our spring and summer preview is happening on Valentine's Day, so next week already. And we will be live through LJ Webcast talking about all of our upcoming books. We have so much to tell you about. If you like Galley Gab Fest, you're gonna love this because it is a much longer version. And yeah, we're really looking forward to that. The link to register will be in the chat, so don't miss that.
And next up, oh, sorry, Lena, that's you.
Cool. So I will put the link for that in just a second, but I also have a link of the podcast because we have a new format for you. We came together and recorded a video with two of our colleagues, Bethany Johnsrud, who is the National Accounts rep. She sells audiobooks to all of your suppliers that you get audiobooks from, and Abby West, VP Editorial Director of Amistad. And Virginia did a wonderful interview with Connie Briscoe for You Never Know. And all of those things, you can hear them all. We also have a little teaser, a little extra bit we did from Writers to Watch with the 4 authors from last month. So wait till the end to hear that. We have some voicemails, so thank you for everybody calling in. Honestly, we packed a lot into an hour, and it's only an hour, so only an hour of your time, and you get to hear a buzz within a buzz. So we have the author interviews, so you get a deep dive for one book, but there's about 15 books that we covered throughout the different interviews in this. So, and also show notes. I know it's important because you're listening and you maybe in the car can't write them down. Don't worry, we wrote them all down for you. So all of them are in the show notes as well. So I think it's really important to know that it's us being silly and fun like usual, but it has all of the books that you really want, all of the how, like, what do I need to read right now, with a little bit of a deep dive. And also, I think for us, it's really fun to hear from our colleagues and see what they're doing, learn a little bit about them. Abby is new, so we got to get to know her. And Bethany, you know her if you've been to shows, and she's fabulous. So I really encourage everyone to go listen. I think it's super fun. We spend a lot of time reviving stuff, and so I would really like you to listen, please. It's super fun.
You listen. If you're a fan of podcasts, you're gonna love this. If you're not a podcast person, you're gonna love this. I'm not kidding you. It's just, and it bounces. The energy of Bethany Johndrud is such a launching pad of love and book love and just like this really cool interaction with everybody. And I don't know, set aside some time and listen to it. It's super fun. Bethany Johndrud is just so cool, Lainey. Like you said, she's been to ALA and anyway, it's all great. Abby West is wonderful. And anyway, I think you're gonna like it.
We also included the 15 books that we talked about, like Lainey said, in the show notes, but we also put it in the collection for today. So if you're like, what are all these books? They didn't talk about those. You have to listen to the podcast to hear what we had to say.
Yeah, because Bethany covers, I think, what does she cover? Like 10, and Abby does 5 from Amistad. So there's a ton of stuff in there.
Yeah, it goes on and on. There's so many things to write down. Yeah, and actually some voicemail callers talked about some books too. So there's probably way more than 15, but 15 that we talked about.
All right. And then what do we have next? Oh, tomorrow. What are you doing tomorrow at 2:00? Nothing? Well, have I got something for you? Library Journal is hosting a webinar. So several publishers, including HarperCollins, will be buzzing about some forthcoming books, and I will be the person from Harper talking about those. So you can sign up here. The link is in the chat. So 2:00 tomorrow, February 8th. Come here, let's talk about some books. Us, Harper, and other publishers. And now, some books.
Okay, I am so excited to kick this off with A Pity Party Is Still a Party by Chelsea Harvey Garner. And this is on sale July 11th. So I love this title. Every time I read it, it reminds me of the Leslie Gore song. Virginia, feel free to sing. It's my party and I'll cry if I want to.
It's my party and I'll cry if I want to. We didn't even rehearse that. I didn't know you were going to ask me to sing.
I knew you'd do it though, so it worked out. So unrelated, but that's just where my mind goes every time I see this. So this book is all about enjoying the unenjoyable, sitting in your sad, and a lot of self-help books will tell you to do that, but this book actually shows you how. So Chelsea, the author, is a therapist, a writer, a musician. She grew up as an at-risk youth and had been exposed to a lot of different things, like addiction, when she was young. So she also has a really extensive background in the field. I did want to grab some highlights. So she was a fellow at the American Psychological Association, and she founded the Big Feels Lab, which I think is kind of a really cute name. And it's a nonprofit that provides mental health resources for people from diverse backgrounds. And given her personal and professional experience, I think to say she's qualified to write this book would be an understatement. So this feel-good guide to feeling bad is for those of us who can't sit with bad feelings and like to avoid them as much as possible and scroll on our phones or do literally anything to distract yourself. So telling someone to tolerate those hard feelings is often not enough and really unhelpful, but this is where this book comes in, and it's here to help you embrace awful feelings. She does this through heartfelt essays, exercises, activities, journal prompts, and she really holds your hand through this whole process with engaging with negative emotions in a positive way. And okay, during our podcast episode, a little teasing thing, we talked about with Bethany how books like this do suit libraries. You can take this out from the library and roll up with a piece of scrap paper and do the prompts and activities so you're not writing in the book. And I feel like I have to say that just right off the bat. But this eGalley is available on NetGalley and Edelweiss, so I really suggest you get your hands on it so you can get, a feel for this type of book. I think it's really unique, and I'm excited that we get to publish it. The next book is Murder in the Family.
Oh, brother, this is something else. Is the slide up? I have so many things open right now on my screen.
That's up.
So, okay, cool. So this is different, and this is so cool. This is kind of like the Jinx, which was that series on HBO. So Kara Hunter, who's this mega best-selling British crime novelist, is making her American debut with Murder in the Family, and it's a thriller about a cold case, and it's sort of set like Netflix, but they've changed Netflix to showrunner just to stay out of trouble, I guess. But it's a very clever whodunit, and it's presented as a teleplay to a Netflix-like true crime series, but instead of Netflix, they're calling it showrunner. There's 6 episodes, there's 1 killer. So it was this murder mystery. This crime took place. This is the novel that the crime took place in back in 2003, and this man, Luke Ryder, who is the stepfather of this acclaimed filmmaker, Gus Howard, who was then only 10 years old. So Luke Ryder is found dead in the garden of their family home, and the murder's never been solved. So the stepson, who's now grown, his mother and his 2 half-sisters, they were in the house at the time of the murder, but they all say they saw nothing. So despite this high-profile police investigation and tons of media attention, they never solved it. But now there's this sensational new TV series called Infamous, and it's dedicated to investigating and possibly cracking open a famous cold case. And in this case, it is the story of this family, this man who was murdered. And so it's called Murder in the Family. So I say it's very much like Jinx. It's this bingeable I keep saying Netflix, but it's really not Netflix. But they call in all the experts to see who could have killed this guy. There's lots of media, there's clippings of newspapers and records and all of this stuff that took place at the time. Now they're digging everything back up, and it's sort of mousetrap built into this story. So this author, as I say, this is her first standalone psychological suspense. She's done this police procedural, then a lot of series with Penguin UK, the D.I. Frawley character, and which we'll now be publishing. We have 3 issues, 3, 4, 5, and 6 backlist that we're going to be publishing. But we first want to wet your whistle with this book, which is really going to be so much fun. So that's Murder in the Family. And it's by Kara Hunter. Super fun, super different, very unique.
Okay, 7 X's by Lucy Vine. This is on sale June 20th. And I just love this cover. I love the colors. I think it works so well. But to me, this is the perfect beach summer read. It's entertaining and funny, but it also has a lot of depth and talks about topics like companionship and challenging what's considered traditional in relationships. I think this is really good for fans of Emily Henry. So this follows our main character, Esther, and she is pushing 30. She has this wonderful job she loves, some really great friends that she lives with, but still feels like there's something missing, and she thinks that something is a someone. So after a series of bad dates and exes, she picks up an old women's magazine. And of course, naturally, she thinks she finds the fix for her love life. So essentially, they lay out that women have 7 types of men they go through until they hit like their forever guy. And so they have the first love, the work mistake, the overlap, the friends with benefits, the mischance, the bastard, and the serious one. And Esther's like peeling back through all of her relationships, and she's like, I have every single one of those. Like, I'm so close to finding out who the right one is. So she decides to contact all of them in hopes that like one is her true love. So you get these relationship flashbacks as well as her current thoughts and musings about her past. And I did want to read a quote about this one. Lauren Bravo, author of What Would the Spice Girls Do, says this one is clever, perceptive, and screamingly funny. 7X's is a joyous commentary on the mores and mysteries of modern dating and how past loves can shape our future. Throw in some delicious nostalgia, some genuinely sexy love interests, and Vine's mastery of female friendships in all their frank and messy glory, and it's a book you'll never, ever want to break up with. So I thought that was a really great quote and sums this one up super well. This eGalley is not yet up, but when it is, we'll let you know. It'll be in the collection as well, so you'll be able to check back.
What'd you say? WWSGD. What would the Spice Girls do? I feel like I need that on like a bracelet or something.
Oh, absolutely. I think that should be your motto, actually. All right. I also have the next one for you, The God of Good Looks. I'm obsessed with this. I feel like I say that with every cover, but I think we just have really great ones. So not to brag, but The God of Good Looks by Brianne McIver on sale May 16th. And this is a modern day Bridget Jones diary with the humor of Queenie. And this is a debut. So this is about Bianca, a young Trinidadian woman who wants to be a writer, but she kind of messes up and destroys her prospects of doing so by having an affair with a married government official. So when she's offered a job at a beauty magazine from this entrepreneur with a harsh reputation, she takes it, and she begins to realize her seemingly tyrannical boss is not as big and bad and terrible as he seems. He actually comes from a really rough background. So this book bounces back and forth between her diaries and his first person narratives. You get a good scope of the characters, and it's a really strong commentary on Trinidad's class barriers, beauty commodification, and patriarchy. And I think the topics alone make this a really great pick for book clubs. And as a bonus, Bianca is this like amazing protagonist. She is someone you root for the entire time. She's really transparent, and you can't help but love her. So I also wanted to read another quote from this one, and this is Monique Raffi, author of Costa Book of the Year and Mermaid of Black Conch. And this is part ribald farce, part feminist track, part love letter to an island. The God of Good Looks takes a look at Caribbean island life and culture rarely seen in books, that of its bristling, competitive carnival culture and beauty world. McIver writes with wit and confidence in a world where female beauty is celebrated and monetized. Her heroine, an outsider tarnished by scandal, navigates both with skill and satire. Every page we wince and smirk, a self-aware, modern, female-centered novel out of Trinidad, which breaks new ground. This one is also on NetGalley and Edelweiss.
Nice. That's a great cover, Grace. For God of Good Looks. Okay. Just Another Missing Person by Gillian McAllister. So, you know Gillian from her book before this. She wrote Wrong Place, Wrong Time, which was a Reese Book Club selection. So you've probably seen it everywhere. I know libraries, it was such a big hit there. And this is the next book, Just Another Missing Person. So we come back for a really strong, and also if you're not aware of Wrong Place, Wrong Time, that was a mystery, but there was a little bit of genre bending. So she's doing some really fun things. And this new book is about a woman who has gone missing. She's about 22 years old. She was last seen on CCTV in the UK, entering a dead-end alleyway and not coming back out again. She's been missing for a day, and the family is starting to worry. And then we have Julia, who is the detective who's heading the case. And she knows, that families get really upset and that they're looking for this. So she's doing everything she can. She's going to try to find answers. And everything, going to plan, like a usual search for a missing person. But she's not sure, Julia, how close she can get to this case, because her family's safety now depends on one thing. Julia must not find out what happened to Olivia and must frame somebody for her murder. So it questions everybody's thought of like, what would you do in that situation? The right thing seems kind of clear, but when you put your family in the mix, how does that come out? How are you going to deal with it? And this one, you know, like Sarah Pinborough, I think is probably a pretty good comp. If you like those kind of books, very thrilling and fun, but also underlying this kind of deeper question. And it's just another great puzzle. There's a lot of twists and unexpected surprises. She's a pro at the what would you do scenario, and there's always that personal dilemma at the heart of the novel, and it's pretty nail biting. Yeah, I'm very excited for this one, and that is Just Another Missing Person. It comes out on, let me see, August 1st.
The Tiffany girls. How much do we love this jacket?
It makes
Kind
you
of.
think of those beautiful lamps immediately. Like, it's
Right?
great.
What needs to be said?
Right.
A lot, actually. And Shelley Noble, the author of this book, who's New York Times bestselling author, does a wonderful job writing about this, group of women who kind of don't get the credit for creating some of the most beautiful lamps and artwork and windows. And this historical fiction hits that sweet spot and tells the tale. So it's 1899, and Louis Comfort Tiffany, who's famous for his stained glass windows, he's planning this large installation at the World's Fair. And so this is the story of some of the women who are the artisans in this studio. It's the women's division of the Tiffany Glass Company, working in Manhattan. And they are working feverishly to get these pieces ready for what he hopes will be, this biggest, finest art and glasses installation. So they are known as the Tiffany Girls, and they are responsible for much of the design and construction of these glass works. But like I said, they don't really receive a lot of credit for it. And so there are profiles of some of the women and stories, very interesting stories. They all got, some backstories and some secrets, and which just adds to the intrigue of the book. One of the things I thought was really cool about this book is the manager of the women's division, who's responsible for keeping everything on schedule and within budget, and they're trying to keep this, on schedule for this exhibit. And it's high stress. And these women all have their lives to live, but they've got to get this work done, and they've got to deliver the goods. And she herself, the manager, she's obsessed with this new design, a dragonfly lamp. And she has no idea if it will become one of Tiffany's signature pieces. And I'm sure, as soon as I read that, you can see it. If you've seen any lamp, you've seen the dragonflies on there. So it's just this really interesting story. And all of these people are brought together by chance and driven by their desire and their craftsmanship and their artistry and their hidden backstories, which make for a rich tale. They're responsible for so much of what comes out of this studio. So it's a lot of untold history and strong female characters. This is great for book clubs. There's going to be a reading group guide. This is a paperback, so there'll be a reading group guide in the book and lots of extra materials. So this is very exciting. That's the Tiffany Girls by Shelley Noble.
Virginia, so Lisa Casper said that she saw a great exhibit on this in Albuquerque several years ago and can't wait. This book looks great.
Yes, and I don't know if there's this exhibit is still going on in New York, but if anybody, you know what, I'll find out about that. I meant to find out about that. My wife went and saw it. She was absolutely stunning. So I think it might be the Museum of the City of New York. I'll find out before we close up today and put that info in the chat.
That's one of my
Awesome.
favorite museums, by the way. They always
me
have
too.
it's-
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that's the one, but I'll check.
All right. Oh, we're switching it up. Sorry, I had another one up. Okay. Beast You Are, Paul Tremblay. Very excited. As you know, Paul Tremblay is best-selling author of The Pallbearers Club, Head Full of Ghosts, Cabinet in the World, which was just made into a movie by M. Night Shyamalan, and it came out on Friday. And we have a fun video that we'll show you in just a second at the end of this. But that's Knock at the Cabin, based off of his book, The Cabin at the End of the World, which is fantastical. So please go read that if you haven't. And this is a short story collection after a new one coming in July. So you have a little bit, but you can get the eGallery. The Pallbearers Club was before this. It published in July 2022, and it had so many best anticipated lists. Survivor Song before that had this crazy list of things it was on. NPR's best book of the year. Indie Next Pick, it was Love Reed's pick. Paul is well known in the horror community and the writing community in general, and his books are immersive. I think even if you're not a horror fan, there's something in it for everyone. There's a lot of questions of am I really seeing what's happening, or is this a psychological thing, as well as all of the big bads in the background. But this one is 15 pieces. They're monsters of all kinds, and they're like, I'll read about a couple of them so you get an idea. So The Dead Thing is about a middle schooler who's struggling to deal with the aftermath of her parents' substance addictions and split, and her little brother claims he found a shoebox with the dead thing inside, and he won't show it to her, and he won't let the box out of his sight. And then the title novella, The Beast You Are, is a mini epic in which the destinies of and secrets of the village, a dog and a cat, are intertwined. There's a giant monster that returns to wreak havoc every 30 years. So those are just, a little taste of the different stories in the collection, but Paul is just really, he's has a lot of things out there. And as soon as you read this, you can go back into all of his backlist, and you can see Knock at the Cabin. I will share his Instagram page in the chat because he has some fun behind the scenes with like Dave Bautista and other people in the cast, and so that's kind of fun to look through as well. If you don't get his newsletter and you're a fan, be sure to sign up on his website. I'll put that link in there. And yeah, we're just excited to have another short story collection. And
I just want to say that the movie is directed by M. Night Shyamalan, so it's going to be good.
So should we show our first? So Saturday was iHeart Horror Day, last Saturday, the 4th, and Grace and I decided we were just gonna have a lot of fun in the office while we're there. AK, I had a vision, and Grace was like, "Okay, let's do it." And she's a good sport. No, it was great. So we thought we would show it here just so you can laugh along with us, because I had more fun making it, I think, than posting it. Here we go.
Hey, did you know? February 4th is iHeart Horror Day. It celebrates all things horror.
Okay, cool.
And the perfect book to celebrate iHeart Horror Day is The Beast You Are, short stories from Paul Tremblay.
Thanks for the suggestion.
Oh, and also,
How did you?
Paul Tremblay's book, The Cabin at the End of the World, was made into a movie called Knock at the Cabin.
What is that?
What is what?
Thanks. This is great.
So that's the kind of fun things you'll see on Instagram or TikTok, Harper Library on both places. So you'll see a lot of fun, wacky videos like that. And we filmed, both of us did that and filmed it, everything together. So I think it's pretty good considering.
Lainey said to me afterwards, you were like, oh, the Apple is a paid actor. And I just want to say that we were like howling with the Apple. Like it was the funniest thing to slow it down. And every time we did take like a few takes during that. And every time I dropped the Apple, it got like significantly juicier from the falls. So my hands are really sticky. I just thought I'd give you that behind the scenes look.
I did not put that sound in. The sound of the apple dropping was in slow motion by itself. I did not do that. So
I think that is hilarious. All right, where are we? Oh, before we go to the ocean above me, you guys, I sent the link to the Historical Society, which is where the Gallery of Tiffany lamps is ongoing. So anyone who's in New York, check it out. We'll put the link in there. That's the New York Historical Society Museum and Library, and there's an exhibition of the Gallery of Tiffany lamps. Also, there is, if you're going, if you are so inclined, there is an exhibit about Jewish delis until April 2nd, 2023. So how cool is that? I'll have what she's having, the Jewish deli. So that's an exhibit there as well, among other things. But anyway, but I digress. The Ocean Above Me by Kevin Seitz. This title alone makes me have a hard time breathing. So Kevin Seitz worked as a network news producer and correspondent for ABC, NBC, CNN, and then he left broadcast television back in 2005 to become the first internet correspondent for Yahoo News. And he has since written 3 nonfiction books on war, all published by Harper Perennial. That was In the Hot Zone, Swimming with Warlords, and The Things They Cannot Say, stories soldiers won't tell you about what they've seen, done, or failed to do in war. You really should go check out his website. It's kevinseitzwrites.com, kevinseitzwrites.com. Oh, you can go down the rabbit hole with that. Boy, he's so smart and he's done so much and reported so much. This is his debut novel, The Ocean Above Me, coming out in summer 2020, July 11th, 23. And it's about a former war correspondent whose name is Lucas Landon, and he's sort of a damaged guy, and he is working on this trawler, on this ship, this old ship, and it's called the Philomena, and it's the South Carolina shrimp boat, and it's run by a former Army sergeant, a woman named Clarita Esteban, and we find him in this boat, and this thing is capsized, and he's trapped under about 150 feet of water at the bottom of the ocean. And the only thing keeping him alive is that he's got himself in an air bubble in the ship's bow. And so we learn about him, and we learn about all the people who are on this trawler with him. And it's a crew. It's a real, it's a very diverse crew. And so Clarita Esteban is as I say, she's the former Army sergeant, and she is a Black woman struggling to survive in a white man's world, and she's got a Cuban first mate, a Haitian cook with a secret Black book, a deckhand who's one of the only members of the ship's former original crew willing to work for a Black female skipper, and her daughter's on the ship too. And so this is their story, their individual stories, and how they slowly share their their lives and their pasts with this correspondent. And he's got his own stuff to unpack, or does he? But now he's found himself in this literally very precarious position, and this is that story. So check it out. It's just about survival and loss and trauma and possibly redemption. So kind of exciting here to have this book as his debut novel after all these very tough, books on war. So this is infused with that, but also a very different trajectory in the story. So check it out.
Okay, so saved. One second, got out of order. So Saved by Benjamin Hall. This one I think is going to be a very big book, something you'll see a lot of places and you'll want to know about, and two, something that I think a lot of different people will find something in. It'll reach a really wide audience. So Benjamin Hall is the Fox News journalist. He was gravely injured by a Russian attack in the early days of the invasion of Ukraine. And in this attack, he was there reporting. It was really early days and it was bombing. They lost some people some correspondents or people he knew. And he lost parts of limbs, a sight in one eye, hearing in one ear, and the use of one hand. And this was, for that to happen is just, I can't even imagine going through all of that. But he was kind of stuck in the shell of a car. And I will share the video because I think, I'll share his Instagram. You should see he promotes the book on Fox News, and it shows the car, and it's so scary. He was stuck in there waiting to be saved and to get over so that the US military could help him. And then he really got by thinking about his wife and his daughters and all of the people he needed to get back to. And this book is recounting all of that really scary thing that happened, but also, what it took for him to get out of there. There's a lot of tears in this book. There's a lot of uplifting and hopeful story in this book. And he speaks a lot about what got him through, and hearing, even in recovery, hearing from people who watched the show and having their thoughts with him really got him through. So, it's something that I think everybody should hear about, even just to hear about his experiences in Ukraine too, because he was there doing his job. It's a really special story, and I am going to share his Instagram because you can hear from Benjamin himself, and it's a miracle. It's crazy that he got out of that, and something that will stick with you a long time. But overall, really, really hopeful. He stuck to his therapy and he got to walk, and this is a really special one. Let me share the Instagram account right now. So let me find it. And there was a really great interview that he did. I don't know if that's on. Yeah, it's like the 4 or 5th down, I think. And they interview him and talk about the book, but also all of the rest of how he was there and got out of there. There you go. And this comes out very soon. It comes out on March 14th. So we'll be able to get it soon. Okay, sorry. Okay, me again on a very different note. I'm sorry for the very stark shift. So this is Amber Rose Gill, Until I Met You. This is the okay, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm in this headspace. Okay, we're gonna take a deep breath.
That was a
We're
big
gonna
switch
go-
up. Yeah.
I'm gonna go to a rom-com, but just know that I'm not putting any levity at all to what this man went through and the importance of that book. Okay, we're switching to a rom-com. This is Until I Met You by Amber Rose Gill. So if you're like me, I tried to do this whole presentation in a bad British accent, but I won't put you through that. I love Love Island UK. I am obsessed. Let's see. I should say this. This is the winner of the 2019 Love Island UK, Amber Rose Gill, and she is killing it. She launched a fitness brand. She has a premium skincare brand. She's like partnering with people for with TV shows to raise awareness for mental health in young people. She's doing so much. She's really taken this fame from Love Island, turned it into so many good things, and now she wrote a book. So I don't really know what she can't do. But this one's gonna be super fun. It kind of pulls off her her time on the show. It's about a woman who she's kind of a disillusioned, she meets a man who's disillusioned from his corporate job on Wall Street when she's going to Tobago to go to a friend's wedding, and he doesn't really need the distraction. She's a really free-spirited woman, and they meet, and love ensues. And actually, I have a fun picture that I was going to share of Amber getting the books in the UK, and like, look how happy she looks. And I mean, in her own words, she says about my girl Samantha who gets stumped right before going to best friend's wedding, determined to live best single life till she meets Roman, and a holiday romance ensues. I loved her on Love Island, and I think she was really sweet, and I can't wait to read this book. And you should, let's see, you should shoot your shot and get a connection, and don't get tied off because it's great banter. There you go. I
Thank
put
you,
some words
lady.
in there for you. I could go on, but I did. Thank you. I love Love Island because I think that it shows, it's reality TV. Let's be real, but it shows a deeper understanding of how people in relationships interact with one another, and I think that that's kind of fascinating. So to take that and put it into a rom-com setting, I think will be fun. And of course, we would love to just be swept away to an island for a summer read, right? This one, it comes out a little earlier. It comes out, oh no, it is summer, sorry. In the UK, I think it's a little earlier. It's July 4th, and you know what? I'm just so excited. If you can't tell, I just like love Island. And if anyone out there wants to talk Love Island with me, they can call me, and we'll have what great crack. We'll talk all about it. And yeah, you know what I mean? That's what I say all the time. You know what I mean?
You know,
Anyway, okay, I'll stop.
we share
now,
this
but I'm
love.
excited.
We
Yeah.
really bond over this. I'm sure that if V let us, we would talk about this for all of our meetings. But yes, this has given us
know.
a good excuse to gab about Love Island. I'm also very excited for this one.
Yeah, also I feel kind of bad because some people watch them out of order, so sorry. She did win the 2019 one, but it doesn't matter who won. Go back and watch them because the fun is in the whole watch.
Yeah,
The
I got
winning is
it
very
spoiled.
interesting, which we won't even get into. So
Yeah, I got it spoiled during the launch meeting, and I was like, wow, this is great. I was literally actively watching this season, and Lainey was like, it did come out a couple of years ago, like you had the time.
yeah, there's a limitation on the spoilers, I think. But yeah, so even if you're not Love Island fans, that's okay. Rom-com on the beach, sign us up.
Listen, I say that, if you want to talk about Love Island for every single presentation, I'll give you the thumbs up as long as you do it with that accent.
Okay, I work on that. I have to get into it, but then
You're
I
very
can't
good.
stop.
Listen,
I
approve.
actually have a question. So May said, I wonder if an old gal, 75, their words, not mine, would enjoy Love Island UK and Until I Met You. And I want to say yes, because like I just said, a rom-com on the beach, it's going to be a fun holiday read. But there are those like really deeper things too that I think at the surface level you don't really think about. But if you see these people interact with each other, it's like, oh, people do that. Why do we self-sabotage when we're in relationships and things like that come up? So don't just write it off because you're like, "Ah, I don't know if I care." Also, it's just fun accents, so you can listen to that, you know?
Yeah, I've cried watching Love Island, and that was very unexpected. It was the most recent season. Like, it does get very emotional, and I will say there are like 60 episodes per season, so you really get to know these people, and um, yeah, you get to know them, and you really feel for them.
All right, I will put my accent away until the next time.
I will say one thing before we move on. We're a little bit running out of time, but whatevs. To the question from the person asking if a 75-year-old would like that. I love that you asked that question. And Lainey, I loved your answer. And, we've had this conversation because I am a little bit older than Grace and Lainey. And some things, I would say we were just having this conversation, I think yesterday, about how, I don't remember, but it was yesterday. And it was about how we do learn from each other, and I'll be the first to admit that Lainey and Grace, you guys are even, separated by some years. And so I think it's a really interesting thing how we can, you know, just enlighten each other on different things. And I really was not very much into TikTok. And these guys are showing me the beauty of TikTok. And now I'm very much enjoying TikTok. That's a broad strokes kind of thing. But I think that I love that you asked that question because I feel that, there's so much that we can glean from each other if we just open our minds to it. You know what I mean? And so I know that I have with Lainey and Grace and the things that they talk about that are more in line with stuff that I talk about. But at the same time, I think that we're all very willing to exchange ideas and introduce each other to things that we may not have known about. And so I kind of love that, it's kind of, I really do. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, I can see things from different perspectives too, of like, would I understand this if I didn't know anything about it, and can look from a different set of eyes, which is nice.
Yeah, I think it's a strength for us as a team to be, distant in age and backgrounds. And yeah, I always feel like I get a lot out of our conversations like that. And it helps me reflect a lot.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Which
So,
actually kind of leads perfectly into our next
Yeah.
book, believe it or not.
it does, Grace.
So this is Where Are Your Boys Tonight? The Oral History of Emo's Mainstream Explosion, 1999 to 2008. So this is by Chris Payne, on sale in June. And the author is a music journalist who has written for Billboard, Alternative Press, and Vulture. So this is for all the former emo kids or those who maintained that this is not a phase, mom. And I say it relates to our conversation yesterday because Virginia and I were talking about this book, and you were like, what does that even mean? Like, what is emo music? So we got a definition of it, and it says a rock music genre characterized by emotional and confessional lyrics emerging out of the post-hardcore and hardcore punk scene. Emotional hardcore or emo core. I will say that we did pull this from Wikipedia, so I don't know how accurate it is. But I mean, I'm not going to say I grew up during this time because I was born in 1999, but my siblings are a lot older, and this was definitely their jam. So I feel like that is pretty accurate. So Where Are Your Boys Tonight is this inside look of emo subculture that exploded at the turn of the century. And, these bands were really popularized as the internet age took off, or like the social media age in particular. Sites like MySpace, especially, they really embrace the aesthetic. And, I want you to think bands like Jimmy Eat World, Paramore, Taking Back Sunday, Fall Out Boy, My Chemical Romance, which is actually the second CD I ever owned, was an MCR CD, following Avril Lavigne's Let Go. So I feel like this book is close to me in some ways. And I think this is going to be really great nostalgia material for millennials, especially elder millennials. And yeah, I think that the use of oral history in this book really drives that home. So we get to hear from amazing voices like Hayley Williams of Paramore, Brendan Urie of Panic at the Disco, Cassidy Pope of Hey Monday, and Pete Wentz of Fall Out Boy. And that's not an exhaustive list, so you'll really just have to read to find out more. But this is just such an in-depth look at a genre that I think is getting some comeback at the moment. I think that people are starting to, like, 90s is having its moment, and I think the 2000s are also having, the early 2000s are also having their moment. So I think this is going to be really popular in libraries, and it was such a fun book to read bits of, and I think casual music fans are going to love this, but also hardcore fans as well. And yeah, I think we had a funny conversation yesterday about, like, it's not just a phase, mom. And I'm not going to expose one of our team members for having a playlist titled that, but I will say it's not.
It's okay, you can. These are my people. Panic at the Disco. I just went to their concert, so you can expose me. It's fine.
Yeah, I saw Fall Out Boy in 2019, so I get it. So yeah, this is Where Are Your Boys Tonight? Chris Payne, music journalist. You gotta get your hands on this one. It's on Edelweiss and NetGalley.
And when I saw that title in the grid, I thought it was a book about parenting. So I also
Understandable.
understandable. You know, this is the way it goes. All right, next and last title, I do believe, correcto?
Yep, give me 1 second.
Oh, were you going to show
Reading,
something great? Was there something else you were going to show about that?
No, I think my brain jumped a little bit farther than it should have been. So
That's okay.
my bad. back to a title. I thought that was the last one.
No, that's okay. So emo, Fred Astaire, you know, you see where we're going with this.
He dances to music. I mean, it works.
Exactly. Fred was the emo of his day. Can a person be an emo? I don't even know. Don't listen to me. Okay, so this is historical fiction starring Adele Astaire by USA Today bestselling author Eliza Knight. This book goes on sale in June 6th. And it is historical fiction and is based on the story of Fred Astaire's sister, Adele. So she was a dancer. She danced right along there with her brother and was quite the star, beautiful, glamorous, and danced, you know, impressing audiences from New York to London, and was really the belle of the ball. But what she really wanted was a husband. She wanted to be married. She wanted to settle down. She wanted to have children. That's what she wanted. And then she meets somebody, Lord Charles Cavendish. And so maybe these wishes of hers are going to come true. Who knows? You have to, you know, read the book, or you just realize what happens. So there's that part. And then there is this woman, Violet Wood, who wants the opposite. She wants fame. She's a dancer. She's on the London stage, and she is befriended by Adele. And she's just, you know, willing to make the sacrifices to become a star. So you've got Adele's story, and you've got her friend Violet Wood's story, she's very rags to riches. And so it's their story together, and how their lives sort of intertwine and how they spin out. So you've got the roaring 20s in New York, and then the wartime London, and how their lives intertwine, and you see how it all happens and how it unfolds. As they say, the press proclaimed that when Adele decided to step down and follow her heart, the press just said that this was just, you know, so sad that when she stopped working, and you know, was a huge loss to them because they loved her. She was really something. But she led an interesting and dynamic life after marriage, and so, of course, lesser known for that. But this is another great book for book clubs, very woman-centered stories, you know, history and just dealing with drama and career and what you want and what you need to give up and sacrifice for love and personal struggles. And it's a really interesting book. I love the jacket. So that is, if you're a fan of Beatrice Williams, Fiona Davis, this is for you. So that's starring Adele Astaire, and that goes on sale in June. I pulled up one thing that I wanted. Isn't that a great cover? I don't know how many people watch the Grammys, and then we'll wrap it up. But we were talking about music, and we're talking about let's talk about Viola Davis for one hot second.
Yeah, I'll share the jacket for this, although I'm sure you're all very aware, because I did not work at Harper when this book came out, but I did read it early because I was working at LJ, and I bawled my eyes out reading this book. She is just such a phenomenal person, and she now is. Do they just call it EGOT, like an EGOT winner, or
Yeah.
so she's won an Emmy, a Grammy, an
Oscar and a Tony.
And she's one of maybe like 15 people ever. Don't quote me on that, but it's just such a feat. So, yeah.
The Grammys were just the other day, and they announced this, and it was. She's amazing. We all rue the day that we didn't go to the office the day that she came in, and people got to meet her, and we didn't get to.
I think we had a conference.
Were
PLA
we?
maybe? I think so. I could be wrong.
I don't know.
Maybe not.
All I know is that we
Either
missed
way.
her. But one other thing, talking about, I don't know if anybody saw this. I don't know. We didn't even talk about this. We talked about Bonnie Raitt and how excited we were. Well, I was excited that Bonnie Raitt got that Song of the Year. But the Daily Mail UK, there's this thing that's going all over the internet, and it's a picture of Bonnie Raitt expressing complete shock that she's won for Song of the Year. And then there's another picture where she's holding her actual Grammy, and it says, "Shock as unknown blues singer beats Beyonce, Adele, and Taylor Swift to win Song of the Year." People like, unknown blues singer? What? Just Bonnie Raitt, for God's sakes. Anyway.
This was a learning moment for me. Remember how we say we teach each other things?
Yeah.
I literally was like, I don't know who that is. And Virginia schooled me. So
Well, that's, of course, there's people who you're not going to know, and I'm not going to know, people who you love. But somebody who's responsible for putting that in a paper or an online publication, you better know what you're talking about.
at least Google. Like the bare minimum is Googling it. I don't know.
Well, we all make mistakes, right? Well, listen. Oh my God, we got through everything.
Unknown journalist messes up.
Film at 11.
We actually have some comments I just want to get to really quickly. So somebody asked about Maureen Roberts asked if Until I Met You is steamy or spicy. I will get back to you. Maybe next Galligapas I'll write in on the notes. I will find out how the levels compare to maybe another book, and that will give you a good idea.
I'll send you an email, Maureen, when we find out.
Yeah. So I will get that to you. And someone said something very nice. Where's that? Oh, Donna. I'm in the car listening, and I had to pull over to say thanks for the Edelweiss collection list for doing these wonderful events. So helpful and infinitely appreciated. LLF is the best, and other people were saying yes. So thank you. That's very sweet.
Oh, thank you so much. We appreciate that. We appreciate your listening. And anything else, lady, that folks want to know about? We good?
There's comments and everybody's super excited. There's a lot of consensus for, well, Bonnie Raitt, but also for being different generations and how you can teach people things. So very nice.
Yeah. I feel very lucky to be working with Lainey and Grace. It's we're a great team, and everybody brings something different to the table, and it's a lot of fun. It really is, and it's the way it should be, because look, librarians, you all have patrons who you need to answer to as well, and tick all the boxes. And there's so many different reading tastes out there, and so we hope that we're delivering what you need. And always, please tell us if we're not. Please tell us if we're not, or if we're focusing too much on one thing and not enough on the other. Tell us. You're not going to hurt our feelings. We are here to make to help you. Yes, we're here to help our books out, but you know, you're our goal, you're our priority. So we need to know what you need. So there. Now, don't forget tomorrow, Library Journals webinar. So excited about our writers to watch, super jazzed. So spread the word far and wide. It's going to be cool. It's a really great opportunity to talk to these authors, hear a bit about their book, and then just talk to them. We ask, you write the questions, we ask them, and it fosters some really cool convo. So check out the last one, so, which is in the chat box, and it's really neat. Shout out to Gail Tsukiyama, who had that great suggestion to make it shorter on the descriptions from the authors and more on conversation, which I thought was brilliant. And we took her advice and it worked really well. So anyway, it's just a fun way to get to know authors and you know how they tick and why they write and what they write about. And so ask your questions. So and then February 14th, we are not talking romance. We're talking all kinds of books, but it's on the day of love because we love you.
And we've taken a lot of care not to buzz any books we're buzzing there at Gala Gab Fest. So it's all new stuff.
Yeah, no overlapping, no redos.
One overlap
Yeah.
just because we had to make a last
Well.
minute change, but I will bring something
For the
new
most
to it.
For the
I will
most
bring
part.
something new.
And quick reminder, the podcast, thank you for calling in with your voicemails, answering our question. If you were not featured on the one that just went up, we have a couple left and we're going to put them in our mini episode with our Library Reads winners. I'm not gonna say anything. So we're gonna play them in that. So don't think because you called in you weren't. It's split up between two. So I just want to say listen in because it'll be featured then.
So yeah, so just in case you don't know, in case you need to know, if you don't know, we're doing this thing where once a month we're asking librarians a question. So the first question that we asked for the month of January.
February.
What year is it? Was what is your favorite romantic trope? And so you can go on and you can, where can everybody listen to those if they want to, Lainey?
On the podcast episode, they're at towards the end. We play a few, and a couple came in right. You know, we'd already put the episode together, and they came in after. So we have them for the next mini episode where we talk about library.
Oh, all right.
reads.
Okay. So then next month, can we say what next month's is?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can
So the
call
question
and say that one now too. Yeah.
okay, ready. So next month's question, which you can start calling in now and tell us your answer. The question is, what is the funniest or strangest thing that's ever happened in your library? I am so excited to hear the answers. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Say whatever
And
you
if
want.
you are voicemail shy, you can always email us. So there's a way to get this.
And Lainey will read it in a British accent.
I will try.
Lillian Dabney said that she loves our virtual backgrounds and that it looks like we're in the same place. And I wish we were in the same place, and I wish I had a bookshelf like this, but unfortunately not.
Oh, we got a chair like this.
Yeah. Well, Bees is in the George Eastman Museum, which is from my home town of Rochester, which I will be in this weekend. So very nostalgic for me.
There you go. Well, everyone, if we don't have anything else to say, I guess we'll say goodbye. Yeah. This flew. Thank you all so much for listening in, and we'll see you for our next Gala Gab Fest. Will be on March 7th, but we'll send you a reminder. But please remember all the other fun things that we have going on between now and then. And we hope that you can join us and let us know if there's anything in particular that we need to hear more about, and we are happy to oblige.
Yeah.
Until then, I'll see you in the virtual book room.
Bye.